パッケージありがとうございました。あ、嬉しい。中之条島温泉郷、沢渡温泉郷、国温泉郷。English で、英語で。Wow. Thank you very much for this. I'm so excited to start. Okay, so you have cut the limes and you are going to make sure that you clean the chicken with the limes. You may also add vinegar if you want, but I decided to use limes. Okay, so you're just going to take a capful of your vinegar and add it to the chicken. So for the stewed chicken seasoning, this is a bunch of spices that I ground myself. All right, and we are going to add these to the miso paste from Nakanojyo. So we'll take about 2 to 3 teaspoons of the dried seasoning. You can add a little more. Then we're going to take about 1 heaping teaspoon of the miso. So this is what it looks like after I mixed the miso paste with my dry rub seasoning. Now I'm going to place it onto the chicken and let it marinate for a few hours. Okay, here is my chicken and my dry rub. Always make sure that you wash your hands and your surface carefully after you have touched meat and chicken. Okay, so just make sure. See, my chicken is still a little bit hard because it's still a bit frozen. Okay, so I am going to make sure that my rub gets into all of my chicken. Okay. You see, it's all there. So we will let it marinate until it gets a little bit more thawed out, and that should be about 2 hours. And please don't forget to wash your hands very carefully and don't cross-contaminate. While your chicken is marinating, you're going to need these ingredients. You're going to need some ketchup, some cooking oil. I'm using grapeseed oil. Any oil is fine. Some syrup, darker the better. You can use brown sugar if you want. You could even use white sugar, but any type of syrup or sugar. I have a red onion. You can use white or brown. I have bell pepper. You can use red, yellow, or orange, even green. It's up to you. And I have some shallots here. So here are the chopped vegetables. I've decided to add some chopped cilantro. Here's the onion, and here's the red bell pepper and the spring onion. And this is what the chicken looks like after 2 hours of marination. Okay, we're gonna start cooking now. Okay, so here's our pot. And what we're gonna do, I have it at the 1200 point on my stove. So I'm going to add this much of my oil. And now I'm going to add my syrup. So this is the caramelization stage. Okay, this is to get the color. So it's about 2 tablespoons of oil and 2 tablespoons of sugar. So we're going to let that heat up a little bit. Here you can see that the oil has started boiling. So we're going to wait just a few more minutes. Okay, so we waited another minute, and now this is what we want. So we're going to throw in some of the onions. Just stir. This is just to get some flavor. Then we're going to add our chicken. Whoops. So now you're going to let it cook. Let it just turn it over so that it gets brown. And I'm using a pressure cooker, so I'm going to make sure that everything is cooked very, very tenderly. Okay, so you're going to keep it uncovered for a few minutes just to let the color come through. Okay, let it cook for a few more minutes. Okay, we're almost ready for the next stage. Okay, so here we go. It's been a few more minutes. Now we're going to pressure cook the chicken so that it becomes really nice and tender. Okay, so this is the top that I'm going to put on it. All right, so I'll see you in a little bit. We're going to let this steam and pressure cook for about 15 minutes on high. All right, and here I have added the onions, the bell peppers, and the spring onions, and a little bit of the cilantro. And we're gonna let it boil down and cook. Okay, so now we are going to make Caribbean rice and beans, or rice and peas, red beans, and rice. There's many words for it. So first we're going to start off with long grain rice. You can use any type of rice you want. Honestly, it's your own choice. So this is the dried long grain rice. I'm going to wash it now. Okay, so here is the rice washed properly and thoroughly. And here is our finished stewed chicken. Doesn't it look amazing? Oishii ne? Oishisou. I should say. Oishisou desu ne. Okay, so here is the rice. We're gonna let it boil. Okay, so for the rice and beans, we're going to use the canned beans here. We're gonna use 1.5 tablespoons of the gravy from the stewed chicken. Okay, so just the gravy itself. And then we have half of a chopped onion. And then we have here a few sprigs of thyme, dried thyme leaves. And don't forget your coconut milk. I'm using a 1/4 cup of coconut powder. You can also use a 1/4 cup of coconut milk. I have added the beans. I'm going to add the coconut powder. I'm going to add the sprig of thyme. Sprigs, they're right there. And also the onions. And of course our gravy for some nice flavor. Let's let it boil. As you can see, all the ingredients are boiling. At this point, if you like pepper, you can add a 1/4 teaspoon of your favorite pepper powder. I'm using a hot pepper from Africa, from Gambia. And there you go. Let it all cook nicely until the rice is completely at the right consistency. So that should take a few more minutes. The rice is almost ready. Let's take a look. It's looking good. And here is the finished dish. This is very popular for when people are celebrating, whether it's just time together with family, or it could be a party. This is something that is dear to our hearts in the Caribbean, specifically in Trinidad and Tobago and in Grenada, where my mother is from and where my late father was from. So here you go. Delicious. And we've paired the stewed chicken with some fresh, ripe avocado. Yummy. So now we're going to make apple chutney. So we are using the apple puree from Nakanojyo, and we're using about a teaspoon of freshly ground curry powder mix. So I have used chili powder, fenugreek, cumin, mustard seed, anise, and cinnamon, a very wonderful fragrant mix. Here we have 1 key lime. We have 1 teaspoon of fresh ginger powder, 1 teaspoon of sea salt, half a medium to small onion, and we have date syrup. Can't forget the ginger. Sorry, I meant the vinegar. We already have the ginger right there. So here's our vinegar. So now we're going to turn our stove on low, and we're going to add just about 1 tablespoon of vinegar. And then we're going to add 1 tablespoon of the syrup or sugar. Make sure to finely chop the onions. So now you're going to add your onions, your salt, your ginger, and your curry. So before I add the onions, before I add the apple puree, I'm gonna let this simmer a little bit longer on very low. All right, so please be careful. The fumes from the vinegar and the onions might burn your eyes. And now we'll add the apple puree. Now mix in the apples with the mixture and make sure that it stays on low and do not burn it. If you want, you can add a little bit of water and just let it simmer for about 20 minutes. I am sprinkling now a little bit of the lime juice, and of course I will take the seeds out. And here is our beautiful apple chutney, which pairs wonderfully with poultry and pork, especially when roasted. Yum, oishiso ne. So today we are going to make pone, which is a wonderful celebratory dessert. And we are going to be using, instead of cassava or yuca or tapioca as it may be known, we're going to be using the imo from Nakanojyo. So right now I'm putting 56 grams of butter. Okay, it should be quite soft. Okay, so try to get it at room temperature. I'm gonna mix it with 1 cup of syrup. Okay, you can use brown sugar, but I'm going to be using date syrup. The oven is preheating. So here is the almost melted butter and the syrup. You can use brown sugar if you'd like. So we're gonna cream it together for a few minutes. Okay, so we want to try and get the butter as smooth and as melted as possible. As I mentioned before, I used room temperature, but it was still a bit hard. So you can make sure next time to make it completely melted, so it's just going to be easier, okay? So now we have the next ingredients. We're going to use an 1/8 teaspoon of pepper, or I'm using papaya seeds, and an 1/8 teaspoon of nutmeg. This nutmeg is from Grenada, from my mother's country. Now we're going to add 1/2 teaspoon of grated cinnamon, 1/2 teaspoon of ginger, and 1/2 teaspoon of essence. It could be mixed essence. This is vanilla essence. So now we're gonna grate 2 cups of the imo. Here we have the spices in. Okay, so here is our mix. We're going to take everything to put everything together. We have all of the ingredients, and we're gonna mix it. and then put it in a bowl to bake. And here is our pone ready to be baked. So we're gonna put it in the oven at 180 degrees Celsius for about 60 minutes until it is golden brown. There it is. I had to put the temperature down from 180 to 150 because I felt that it was cooking a little bit too quickly, or baking a little bit too quickly. Hi! And here is our lovely pone. And we're gonna eat it with some vanilla ice cream. Yummy! So look how nice and crispy it is on the outside, nice and caramelized, and a little bit softer on the inside. We're gonna let this cool for about 20 minutes and then we're gonna dig in. Yummy. Okay, so welcome back. And here is 10 minutes later, our pone. It is looking amazing. So let's cut a piece and eat it with some cake. And there it is, our beautiful pone with some amazing ice cream. Yummy. Wow. Look at that. Beautiful spices all melting with the ice cream. Yummy.